Hey guys, I want to tell you about a recent trip that I had in Chicago for the HealtheVoices conference. Now, this is the first time that I've been to this conference, but it was an amazing opportunity to not only meet other advocates who basically look after a whole range of health conditions and chronic illnesses and whatnot, but I also got to learn quite a bit from the conference as well. So I'm just going to give you a very brief slideshow just to explain, a little bit about the conference and some of the things that I did and some of the friends that I got to hang out with. So quick disclosure, guys. The HealtheVoices 2017 conference was sponsored by Janssen. They paid for my travel and accommodations. So everything that I'm saying basically in this video would be my opinion. Just keep that in mind. So my day starts on Thursday, April 20th, 2017. Now my flight was scheduled sometime mid-afternoon, so I had actually plenty of time to get ready. I was able to change my appliance in the morning. I wasn't in a rush to get to the airport or anything like that, so it was actually quite pleasant. But it was a pretty rainy day. I was expecting rain. I mean, they were forecasting that for basically the whole week before the trip. So it wasn't too bad. Now, there was actually a delay with the pilots flying in. So the flight was actually delayed by about an hour before I left. So that was a little nerve-wracking because I know I had an IBD Social Circles Twitter chat that I was co-hosting later on that evening that I needed to get to. So that was a bit weird. And one of the things I really found strange in this flight, and I didn't either notice or didn't care, but they were playing ads like just before the flight took off, which was really strange. Anyway, so we took off from Toronto. Again, it was nice, it was rainy and all that. But one of the really great things that I like about flying is that once you get over the clouds, I mean, it's always sunny, right? It's always a beautiful day once you got up in the clouds. So I was looking forward to that. I made it a point to grab a window seat, and I recommend anyone, whether you have an ostomy or not, especially if you're going on a short flight, to consider that window seat. I love looking at the views. I mean, there's not much to look at, with this flight because a lot of it was over water. But, even just looking down at the city, looking just at the beautiful sky and, just the whole blueness of it and the sunlight and all that stuff, it makes you feel a little bit different. That's for sure. So I enjoy that, and I definitely recommend people do that. Now, this was my first time going to Chicago. Last year, I was actually in Detroit. I landed in Detroit, so it's, not too far away, but I certainly have never been to Chicago. So I wasn't knowing, I didn't know what to expect as far as the sights and, how the approach would be and all that stuff. But I was very, very pleasantly surprised. I was actually really surprised at how much green they had just looking down. A lot of the trees were already budding, and where I'm from, they hadn't even started yet, so that was a really nice sight. And it was actually pretty warm in Chicago, a little bit warmer than it was in Toronto, and it actually got quite a bit warmer as the days went on. Now, one of the things I was not expecting was the traffic. The traffic was absolutely brutal in Chicago going from the airport downtown. And, keep in mind, I still had that schedule to meet because I had that IBD Social Circle Twitter chat. And, I didn't know if I was going to make it. I didn't know what the hell was going on. But, we made it like 5 minutes late. I think they had to delay the chat by a couple minutes. But I basically ran in, sat down, opened up my my Chromebook, and we were starting the chat right then and there. It was pretty exciting. I had absolutely no time to settle in or anything like that. But, it was really cool. Waved hi to my friends, and we just got on with it. So a lot of my friends in the IBD community were there, which was amazing to see. I mean, I got to see a lot of friends that, some of them I haven't seen since Orlando, which wasn't too long ago, but there were a lot of new faces there too. A couple people that were, brand new to HealtheVoices. I know there was one guy there, Luke, and he was from Australia, and that was like the first time for him being at this conference, and it was just amazing to see that. But, I got a lot of support from that Twitter chat that I did with Christy Stone and Dr. Tiffany Taft, and it went just amazing, and I had a really great time. After the chat, I went upstairs, finally checked into my room, which, it was really late by that point. But, checked in. I hung out with a few friends. We ended up ordering some, in-room dining, which was really cool. But I was very surprised, actually, to see that they had like a menu with vegan options on there. So I got this vegan ravioli dish along with a really nice salad that had like sun-dried tomatoes in it, and it was just fantastic. Now, the hotel room had a really beautiful view. I was actually really happy with this view. And I know a couple of the other advocates that had rooms that were facing a different direction had also a very spectacular view. So that was really nice to see. Chicago's a beautiful city. If you haven't been there, I would definitely suggest you at least check it out if you like cities. So Friday, April 21st was the first official day of HealtheVoices. All the days are pretty scheduled, and they usually always start off with a breakfast. So I actually went to do my registration because I had come in late the day before. So I did my registration, then I grabbed some breakfast. Along the way, I met Christy Stone, one of my friends, and we headed in together. For breakfast, they had actually a really nice selection of different food options. I settled for something pretty light, so I went with like an oatmeal with some fruit on it and some almond slices. After breakfast was the opening session. Now, the opening session essentially introduced the advisory panel. They introduced essentially what the conference was about, and so that was actually a really great time to see all the new people that were there. After we had a break, there was an energy management mini session, which was actually kind of neat. And then we went off to do the icebreakers. Now, the icebreakers, they had us seated with other advocates. So I wasn't with other IBD advocates. We had a whole bunch of different people at our group. There were some people there that were specializing on mental health. There were some people there that were doing HIV. So there's type 2 diabetes at my table, psoriasis. So we had actually quite a few different people that were at each table, and it was a really nice way to truly break the ice. We had a couple of activities there, some team building activities, and that was pretty cool. So for lunch, I actually really appreciated the fact that there were so many vegan options available for lunch. So I was almost overwhelmed because I wanted to eat everything, but I knew that I couldn't because there were time constraints, but I just didn't want to be eating all day. But anyway, for lunch, I ended up having some grilled tofu with some rice and quinoa, and then some veggies, salad. So it was like a very nice lunch. After lunch, there was a panel discussion. The topic was combating the stigma of chronic illness. So we actually had one of our own IBD people up there, Christy Stone, along with a couple of other people from various chronic illnesses. And they were just talking about some of these stigma types, along with strategies, to work your way around those when it comes to chronic illness. It was a pretty informative discussion. I really enjoyed listening to the different opinions from these different advocates, and it was overall a very pleasant experience. So after another short break, we had another session, and this one was navigating the advocacy landscape while maintaining your own mental well-being. And it was being presented by Dr. Tiffany Taft. Now, she was one of the people that I had been doing the IBD Twitter chat with just the night before. So it was really nice. It was really nice to actually be in her presence. This is the second time that I met her. I also met her in Orlando last year. And, she's a great person to be around. She's quite witty, and I love her online presence as well. She does manage the Oak Park Behavioral Medicine Twitter account. So if you want to check that out, it's definitely one to follow. But in any case, Dr. Taft was talking about how to maintain essentially our own sanity as advocates, because a lot of us experience challenges just being an advocate. There's issues with burnout and stuff like that. So she really helped to nail down some strategies on how we can overcome that and become better advocates that way without, the stress and the burnout. Somewhere along the way, we had a surprise mascot dubbed Rexy show up. Now, Rexy is actually being commandeered by Megan, the front butt YouTuber, and it wasn't the first time she pulled that costume out. We had a lot of fun with it. So after all the day sessions were done, I went back to my room, got ready for dinner, which we would be having, and we would actually be having dinner just like on one of the upper floors of the hotel. Beautiful view. Really great, actually. Really nice scenery and all that. Dinner was fantastic. I was able to sit with many of my friends, all my IBD friends. Well, not all of them, but I mean, as many that could fit at the table. But, we had a great time. Dinner was fantastic. We got to hear from some pretty big deals in Janssen and Johnson & Johnson, which is the parent company of Janssen. And it was actually a pretty good dinner. Now, following dinner, we had an open mic night. Now, this is a chance for a lot of the advocates to come out and show their talent, read blog posts or poems and things like that they had. So it was actually a really fun, entertaining evening. Now, one of my friends, Ryan Stevens, was up there, and he actually read a poem that he wrote. And it was incredibly moving. I'm hoping that there's a recorded version somewhere. I know he has a written version on his website, but if he gives me the permission, I will put this version that I've recorded up online. I think it was incredibly powerful. Even just reading the one that he wrote on his website was just very powerful, very moving, and I really enjoyed listening to it. After the open mic night, we headed up to one of the rooms where we just hung out. A couple of friends of mine, we hung out. We ordered more food. They had actually the really nice green salad you'll see here in the picture with like a balsamic vinaigrette. Megan and I actually ended up going out for a nice walk in the city in the middle of the night, and we wanted to go to one of the pharmacies there. We had a big change of plans. We went to a 7-Eleven. It wasn't there. Thanks a lot, Google. We headed out to another 7-Eleven, so it was like all craziness all around. But I was actually really surprised how dead the city was at that time. And it wasn't actually really late. It was probably around midnight or so. But there was like nobody on the streets, and I didn't understand why, because it was like a Friday night. But in any case, we got to see the city at night, and it was a beautiful thing. Saturday, April 22nd. Now, we had another really nice breakfast. Again, I stuck with oatmeal because I know it'll be easy on me for the rest of the day. But we had the first session was with Facebook. Facebook was there just to talk about their platform, talk about how advocates could use their platform to better serve the community. Megan was wearing this custom t-shirt that she had, which is like freaking awesome. I really love that. I got to make one for myself one day, but I thought that was really cool that she was sporting that around. One of the things actually I noticed in the Healthy Voices conference was that all the HIV advocates had on this really cool like HIV positive shirt or something to do with HIV advocacy, and I thought that was really neat. I wish we all had something like that to sport around when we go to these things. But I thought that was really cool. It certainly showed that they were a proud bunch, and I really enjoyed seeing that. So we had a breakout session, and the topic that I had picked was storytelling in a mobile world. And it was being presented by Everyday Health, which is actually a very informative session to be in. And soon after that one, we went to, let me explain. Some of my friends actually went to the March for Science, which is happening like very close to the hotel. I stuck around a little bit longer in that session, which meant I was a little held back. So I kind of like ran to go meet them. I missed the actual march, but I ended up meeting with my friends. We had Megan there. We had Dan Sharp, Sara Ringer, and Christy Stone. I got to meet them there in the city, and we kind of went for a little walk. Now, at some point, We were photobombed by a couple of Chicago's finest, so I ended up taking a selfie with them, which is kind of cool. Really nice guys. And then Dan Sharp and I just went for a nice little walk because I wanted to see the quote-unquote bean. And you know what? I still don't know what the hell it's called, but it's this really cool, like shiny chrome bean-looking thing, just like right in the middle of the city. So we went for a little walk to go and see that and take some pictures. And I really enjoyed seeing the sights in Chicago. It's just, I would describe it as like an open city. So there's like a lot of like open space. There's parks there. There's a lot of like stuff to do. I really enjoyed being there and just walking around there. And it's absolutely a beautiful city. Now, one of the things I found really, really interesting and kind of shocking at the same time were these signs that say, like, don't bring your guns into the hotel or into the restaurant or into the store. And, here in Canada, we usually have signs that say, hey, you know what? You need to wear a shirt when you're coming in our shop, or, you have to have shoes or no skateboarding. But, seeing signs that said, you don't bring your guns in here, that was a little shocking. I'd tell you that much. So Dan and I made it back just in time to grab some lunch. Now, the next breakout session that I had selected was Here's How to Get Video Done, and it was being presented by the HIV advocate Josh Robbins. Josh is a super cool guy. He does a really great job presenting. It was a very engaging presentation, and I'm sure everybody learned a lot. I certainly had some eye-opening moments as far as some of the things that he was showing us, and it was a very, very cool presentation. I'm glad I picked that one. So after that, we had a short break, and then it was on to another group session called the 10 Fundamentals of YouTube. And it was basically YouTube talking about some of the strategies that we can use as advocates to better reach our audiences. So once those sessions were done, we actually gathered outside to take some photos of the whole group. They actually had a drone taking a whole picture or movie or something, I don't know, of all of us. I haven't seen that yet. I'm sure at some point it's going to come out, but that was actually pretty cool. And then everyone headed out to a restaurant. Now, Christy, Dan, Sarah, and I, we just decided to go to a different restaurant. So we basically walked there. It was a beautiful evening. We walked to this Thai restaurant. But before I talk about that, I just wanted to show you guys what I was wearing essentially for basically all the days, my entire trip. So I had a stealth belt, and that requires me to wear my bag sideways. So you can see in the photo here how I position my bag, and then I put the belt on, and then I could put a t-shirt on over that, and then a regular shirt. Most of the days I actually had my shirt tucked in, and it was actually absolutely no problem to do with the stealth belt on and wearing my bag sideways. And it's something that I've grown accustomed to, especially on these trips, because it just makes life a hell of a lot easier. Okay, so for the restaurant, I ended up having we went to a Thai restaurant, by the way, and I ended up having a cucumber salad and then like a tofu dish with a side of rice and just a whack load of different vegetables. And it was really delicious. I really enjoyed my meal. We had some good conversation at the table. And then we basically took an Uber back to the hotel. So it gave me another chance to see the city at night. So after dinner, I hung out with my friends again. And then when it got really late, Megan and I just went back to my room to shoot some video. I ended up ordering more food, obviously, because, why not? I got actually a fruit platter and a nice salad dish. And that always hits the spot. But, as we were filming this video, and that's going to come sometime down the road. But as we were recording this video, and it was just an absolutely crazy video, but as we were recording it, the guy delivering our food came up and he didn't know what the hell was going on because of the Rexy costume that Megan was wearing. And keep in mind, this was at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. So he comes in with a tray of food, and I had to kind of explain what the hell was going on because he just was mortified. He didn't know what was happening, right? So it was a very awkward situation. Incredibly hilarious. The guy was in complete shock, but I'm going to be talking about this thing, probably telling my grandkids about this one day, but it was just super, super funny. Now, Sunday, April 23rd would be the last day of Healthy Voices, and to my surprise, I found out that one of my hero advocates, Laura Cox, she actually lives in the city, and she saw one of my posts on Instagram, and we kind of hooked up that way, and she met us for breakfast at the hotel. So, we got to have breakfast with her, with Sarah and I, Sarah, Dan, Megan, and Laura and I. We went down. We had breakfast, we chatted. I've never met Laura before, but I know her online. I've known her for years. She was actually one of the advocates that got me on the path to advocacy. Just watching her videos as a new ostomate, I mean, it changed something in me, and it inspired me to become, the advocate that I am today. So I'm extremely grateful that, she's around, and that, what she's doing is absolutely incredible. So I got to meet her. It was a fantastic time. Just a little side story here. I had a nice oatmeal dish. Again, like the other days, just oatmeal hits the spot. But the waiter was like trying to upsell on like all our meals. So he came up with this thing like, if for $1 more, you get the coffee, you get the oatmeal, you get to have a continental breakfast, and this, and we're thinking like, no, I'm actually pretty good. I'm okay. But he kept on trying to upsell us with this thing, and it just became this huge like laugh. I was kind of holding in my laugh as he was going through the whole spiel, and it was just hilarious. And we all had a good laugh about it afterwards, and we still continue to laugh when we bring up the continental breakfast. Now, the last panel discussion was on privacy, and it was actually called Privacy in the Public Eye and Protecting Yourself on Social Media. And I think it was actually a really important topic to discuss, because I know a lot of health advocates, we get a lot of unwanted attention, especially the female advocates. And it was a really great session on, how you can protect yourself as an advocate, and in some cases, how to protect some of your followers as well who are sharing information on social media. After that was lunch. You guys know the drill. I pretty much picked the same thing, but I noticed this time for lunch actually I had edamame. For those who don't know, edamame are like the young soybeans. They're really fantastic. You can have them as snacks. You can buy them frozen and then pop them in the microwave. Usually they come in these little packets, but it was a really nice addition to the meal. I had a really good time with that. After lunch, we had the basically the closing ceremony, and that's kind of when it was time to say goodbye to a lot of the people that were there. It was a pretty emotional time for me. I totally broke down and started crying like a baby. But that's how it is, unfortunately, when you're in these situations where you're just so extremely grateful to be there. You've had a history of poor health. Most of your friends are sick. You have so much to be thankful for in that moment, and saying goodbye and letting go of that, it's hard. It's really hard. And I know a lot of people there. We only see each other once in a while. We all live in different parts of the world, so this is really the only time, or one of the few times, that we actually get to be in each other's company. So it is really hard to let go, but. I still had a few hours to hang out with some of my other friends, and that's exactly what I did. So Sara Ringer, Dan Sharp, Megan, Christy, and I all went out. Now, we were also accompanied by Kelly Crabb, who is another IBD advocate. Absolutely love Kelly. She's a fantastic advocate. We all went down for a nice walk again in the city. We went to that shiny, chromy, beautiful looking bean thing. Weather was absolutely beautiful, and it was just an absolutely perfect day to take photos. There were like flowers blooming and all kinds of beautifulness, so that was really enjoyable. Then after that, we decided to just walk around the city more. Now, keep in mind, we had a flight basically that we had to leave for very soon, so Megan and I actually had to run back to the hotel just to catch our bus. We ended up missing the earlier bus, so we actually got delayed a little bit and took one of the later buses. But you know what? It all worked out fine. We got to say bye to our friends. We actually ended up doing a live stream on the bus with some of the other advocates that were there, so that was really cool. And I had a really great time, right to the very end. So getting to the airport, I think I made it probably an hour before the flight left, which is really cutting it close. I tend to get to airports around 3 hours early, regardless of where the flight's going to. But, as I was going through the security, and I usually don't have problems at all with with my ostomy or anything like that going through security. But as I go through security, I get pulled over to the side, and the officer there, the TSA agent had said, so, you carrying any liquids or anything like that in your backpack? And I'm like, no, I just actually threw out a bottle, like right here just before I got through the security checkpoint. I couldn't even finish it. I didn't even want it, but I knew you guys weren't going to let it through. And he said, oh, so you sure you don't have anything? I'm like, I don't know. If I have anything, it would probably be Gatorade, because that's really all I was carrying, right? So he ended up going through my backpack, and he pulls out a Gatorade that I had. Like, it's basically at the bottom of my bag. I didn't even know I had it. I didn't remember that I had put it in there. But, it was kind of one of those things where, Jesus, are they gonna detain me or what? But, I apologized. I was very polite. He said, no problem, and we kind of we left it at that. But I was kind of sweating bullets a little bit there, because I didn't know what the hell was going to happen after that. I was already late for my flight. I didn't want to be, any later. If they had to take me out somewhere, I don't know, like put me in some kind of room and waterboard me, I didn't want to be late for the flight. So, everything worked out fine. Everything was cool. And I did manage to get on the flight without any problems. So as I had done with the flight coming into Chicago, I also had a window seat going out. And the view, again, was just phenomenal. Passing by the city of Chicago was just an amazing sight. I mean, Chicago really is a beautiful city. And I know I've said that already a few times, but it really is. I mean, here in Toronto, I don't find my city to be pretty. I mean, we have a CN Tower, we have, this and that, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's a beautiful city. And Chicago, I would say, is a beautiful city. So I'd love to visit it again one day. Definitely, I would take more time to explore the city when I do get a chance. But it's really, I was extremely grateful to be there and to have that opportunity to be there. So just wrapping up here, guys, that was how my HealtheVoices trip went. I mean, I'm really thankful that I had an opportunity to go there. I had missed the HealtheVoices last year because it actually conflicted with another event that I was presenting at. So that was kind of one of those things where I had to wait a whole year just to get back in. But I'm so glad that I did. I'm so grateful to have an opportunity to see my friends there. And, I'm sure that we'll see each other again, but that waiting to see your friends again is really hard, and I value the time that we did spend together. But there's just so many people that I'd like to give shout outs to and say thank you to. Obviously, Janssen is one of the companies that made this all possible. All my IBD friends, ostomy advocates, and everyone who was there at HealtheVoices representing a chronic illness for other people. You guys are doing an amazing job. A lot of these advocates, they put their heart and soul into their advocacy, and I know a lot of them are struggling in their daily life. Many of them have chronic illnesses that are impacting their quality of life, like on a daily basis. I met a couple of people that were caregivers and caregivers to people who are in very challenging situations, and they're persevering, and it's become a motivating factor to work harder and become better advocates. So I applaud these people. I couldn't be in a better group than that. So I hope you guys liked the video. I honestly didn't expect to do a video for this event, but I just had so much to share, and I did want to do sort of like a tribute to the event. So I hope you guys like it. Enjoy the rest of that. Take care.
So where would we be?